Hello and welcome to Immigration USA with Kathia. Today, let me see. I'm trying to do this. Let me see if I am doing it right. Oh no, what did I do? Well, anyways, today I am here to talk to you about the news on immigration law. What has happened since Friday? Friday is the day when the Supreme Court decided that federal judges did not have the power to stop executive orders or laws um, from going into effect even if there was a challenge as to whether these laws or executive orders were legal or not. So the Supreme Court said if you ever file a lawsuit in federal court, the judge can enjoy the executive order uh, from the president for you and for your state, but not for the United States unless there is a class action. And you are probably asking yourself, what is a class action? So a class action is when you go in front of a judge and you say, listen, judge, I am about to be, I'm hurt or I've been hurt or I will be hurt if you allow for this executive action or for this law to go into effect. And the same way I'm being hurt or I will be hurt, thousands of people in the United States will have the same problem. So I want you to accept my claim, my complaint, but also create a class of people that are in my same situation. So if a judge does a class action, then the same judge will be able to do put a freeze to the executive order or the law that you're trying to challenge. So right now, after this Supreme Court decision, that all the plaintiffs on the birthright citizenship case, where all the people who had filed lawsuits saying this executive order that tries to take citizenship away from kids who are born in the United States only because they have immigrant parents, well, these plaintiffs have already filed amendments to their complaints so that the judges can certify that there is a class of people around the United States. There are babies of immigrant parents that are about to be born, and they will be stripped from citizenship if we allow for this executive order to go into effect. So we are waiting during this week or next week. We should know which judge is the first one to certify the class. And if they do, then they will enjoin, they will stop, they would freeze the executive order from coming into effect. And then people won't have to worry about what's going to happen in the next 30 days. Right now, every baby that is born in the United States is a US citizen, regardless of what's the legal status of their parents. And I am certain it will continue that way because that's what the Constitution says. So the fact that the Supreme Court said on Friday the judges cannot stop this just the way they were doing it before, it does not mean that kids will not be US citizens. It has nothing to do with it. But we have to wait until that topic of citizenship goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and they may take another year. So for now, if you're pregnant and you're going to have a baby, or you're thinking about having a baby and you are an immigrant parent, don't worry. Everything is going to be okay. Okay, let's talk about the second news of the day. The second news of the day, the government has informed us that they are going to put a lot of effort into denaturalize people. And if you don't know what naturalization means, it's the act by which a legal permanent resident asks the government, the Department of Immigration, for an opportunity to take a test to become a US citizen. When the naturalization process ends, then the person becomes a US citizen. Now, there is also a process to take that naturalization away from you, and it's called denaturalization. Now, when does that happen? Only when you have committed some type of fraud at the time that you got your citizenship. So, for example, if I'm a really good person, I become a legal permanent resident, and then the time passes and I apply for citizenship and I become a US citizen, and years later I become crazy and I do something terrible and I end up in jail forever and ever. Can they denaturalize me? No, they can't. Because at the time I applied for naturalization, I was fine, I qualified, everything was fine. So they cannot take citizenship away just because they want to or because you think different than them. No, none of that. But let me give you another example of when they can denaturalize you. Suppose that I am a legal permanent resident, but I'm doing something terrible. I am selling drugs, okay? And but I haven't gotten caught. So I apply for naturalization, and in the naturalization application, the government asks me, have you ever committed a crime for which you were not arrested? I mark no. Have you ever sold or smuggled drugs? I mark no. So I become a US citizen. And a couple years later, I get caught and I go to the police, and the police does an investigation. And during the investigation, they realized that I had been trafficking the drugs for years, even before I became a US citizen. At that point, they can start the process of denaturalization and they can take the naturalization away from me. Why? Because when I applied for naturalization, I lied and I committed fraud. And when there is a fraud, then the naturalization process was not correct and they can take it away from me. They can strip citizenship away from me. I hope this was easy to understand. But now what the government is saying is we're going to go after people who have lied during their naturalization applications. So if you um, obtain your citizenship without any lies, you have nothing to worry about. But if you know in your heart that something was off, then it's time to look for a lawyer because they're going to go back and check on everybody and they're going to pay attention to see if they find any fraud in those circumstances. Okay, let's talk about news number three. News number three is about the TPS for Haiti. The government has announced the TPS will terminate for Haitians on September 2nd of this year. They basically have 60 days to leave. What is going to happen now? Well, the government has terminated it. It's explaining that they can terminate TPS when the country conditions are better. And they are saying that right now country conditions in Haiti are better, but they are not. Country conditions are really bad in Haiti. So I expect that there will be a lawsuit, and that in this lawsuit, um, uh, TPS people from Haiti will request class certification so a judge can stop the government from enforcing this termination because the reasons the government is provided are not right. That Haiti has not improved in any way, shape, or form. To the contrary, it's much worse to go back to Haiti today than what it was 2 years ago. So we need to fight in court for our Haitian brothers and sisters. And last but not least, I want to talk to you about a comment President Trump made on Sunday, where he explained that the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Immigration, it's working in a temporary pass for agricultural workers and hospitality workers. And now you probably are asking what is an temporary pass. Well, passes don't exist in immigration. What we have is temporary visas, temporary employment authorizations. So we don't know much about these. We don't know if it's just a bluff to keep the donors of President Trump who own big agricultural companies or hospitality businesses at ease. But what we know is that a lot of people nowadays are living in the United States, working on the fields, working in the hospitality industry. And it'll be wonderful if they could have the opportunity to work legally in the United States. Many of them have US citizen children, US citizen spouses, parents, and it'll be great for these families if they could remain together in a field where people is underpaid and where that work conditions are really rough. So We don't know much detail, so I don't want to tell you things that, are not certain, but I will keep you posted. As soon as I find out, you will hear it here in Immigration USA with Katia. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I will be back with you as soon as I can. If you want to listen to this in Spanish, you can go to Inmigrando con Katia. If you want to keep up to date with immigration news, stay here in Immigration USA with Katia. Thank you.